Hello friends, I wanted to take a minute and talk about the electronic setup I have on my TRX4. My TRX4 is a Class 2 vehicle. It is not a pro comp vehicle by any stretch of the imagination. It's somewhere in the middle. I like where it's at. I have fun with where it's at. Eventually it may be a full-blown comp rig. But for right now it does comping enough to make me happy, but it's still fun to play around with. My first thing I'm going to show you is the radio system I have. I've talked about this in other videos. Them videos are much older than what you think they are. I uploaded them, not that long ago, but whenever I actually took the video was a while back. They were posted in a Facebook group, and I just recently decided to actually post them on Facebook or on YouTube, so that other people could see them, maybe see something they didn't see before, or just a different way of viewing things. Always keep in mind, RC is one of them things that's really personally driven. So just because I like a way of doing something or I like something, doesn't mean you will. And that's perfectly fine. That's what's awesome and great about RC and the crawler scene, the scale scene, whatever you'd like to call it, is that everyone can have their own personal way of doing it, and it's not wrong. The beautiful thing about these is everybody is essentially right to an extent. Whenever you get into electronics and stuff like that, that's where I find that people should be a little bit more educated than what some of them are, and that's fine. They'll learn. They'll get there. That's kind of part of growing. Just as a little background, I've been in RC, hobby grade RC, for 24 years. I started whenever I was 10. So I have a pretty good idea, general idea of what's good, what's bad, things of that nature. So just a general go around of myself. What I'm going to show you first, let me get this flipped around here. I do have an interior for this. It's not finished yet, so that's why it's not inside of it. The first thing I'm going to show you, hacked Flysky 8-channel. Originally this radio system is only 3 channels. I hacked them. I do this personally, which turns it into an 8-channel radio. I'll explain to you here a little bit why that's important. First, I'm just going to show you the very first thing. You will see at the press of a button, so I push the button, I have lights. This is the channel on my radio. You can see the rock lights, as well as my light on top work simultaneously, and that's one channel. So as I pop my body off, have to bear with me here for a second. I need to get some camera gear someday maybe. So we already went over that. Now the rest of the channels, obviously we have our steering, that's a channel. Throttle forward and backwards, that is a channel. So that's 3 of our 8 channels. So the remaining 5 channels, where are they? Well, right here's 1 channel, 2 channels, 3 channels, 4 channels, which this is operated by this. So our last and final channel is actually the auxiliary port off the Mamba X ESC. So I'll go over all of them and show them to you on my controller. And what I'll do is I'll flip the truck around here so that as I do the channels, one, it's correct with the truck. I program each one of these buttons for where I'd like them to be on this radio. For my front locker, I use the front button on the top of the remote. As you've seen, the locker itself changed. Now anytime we move a locker, we don't want to let our truck sit. A lot of times that's why people burn up these micro servos. And my back locker. So my other locker, which is the 2-speed, I'll just flip it around so you can see it. It's controlled by this button. Now my wiring needs cleaned up, but you'll hear it click and you see it shift. my servo, for my winch servo I should say, is controlled by a momentary switch. I got my lead in there a little ways. As I push the button, as soon as I let go, it's stopped, and it's also got braking because that ESC is applying drag brake. Momentary back in, done. Works smooth as butter. Now, we talk about the Mamba X auxiliary port. And what that does is allows me to take, right now, as you can tell, as you can hear it, you can hear that motor inside. It's drag braking. Okay? Now, as soon as I push my switch, you'll hear that go away. You hear it? It's free rolling. Zero drag brake whatsoever. Flip the switch, I'm drag braking again. Now, the big thing about this is you can do this a couple different ways. You can use that auxiliary port and use the channel on the radio to actually do a adjustment on drag brakes, or you can set it up the way I am, where it's straight to my setting where I have it, and then straight from there straight to 0. Now, a lot of people, especially the more pro drivers, will argue that they want the drag brake to be adjustable, which I agree with them 100%. So you're saying, well, you agree with them, why aren't you doing it? Well, here's my reasoning. I let other people drive my truck. For one, my 7-year-old drives my truck. I wanted something that was simple for him to understand and something that he didn't have to worry about trying to do. His truck has the exact same brushless setup. Now, he don't have a TRX4, he has an SCX10 too. But it's exact same radio, exact same button, exact same setup. So what this allows him to do is it simplifies it. So if I have someone brand new learning to run an RC truck, and I don't want them tumbling down through the yard doing endos because the brakes are locking up, all they have to do, or all I have to do, is a simple push of the switch, and they have 0 drag brake, and they'll just coast and rip around and have fun. Or if we're on a trail walk and there's a long distance between where there's an actual obstacle, it keeps you from doing that drag brake and endoing. Drag brake also uses battery up because it's the brake. It's the motor actually pushing against the truck, the inertia of the truck. So, that is why I use my drag brake the way I do. It is not wrong. It is not right. It suits my needs. The beauty of this hobby is suiting what you would wish to have. So, just to go over this a little bit, this ESC is nothing more than my winch controller. And you'll see I have leads on the actual ESC. Now, you might say, why do you have a battery connector? Well, I use the opposite end. This is the battery side. I use the opposite end to use for motor connectors. This gives a solid motor connection. The bullets that come on motors from the factory, on like a Traxxas, an Axial, you name it, they're garbage. They actually have a lot of resistance and stuff to them. They're not a good connection. So I remove them, and I always run XT60s now. Back in the day, I used to run Deans. But I use XT60s, and the reason I have it set up like this is simply, if something happens to my brushless system, all I do is unhook this. I have another motor. It's a Holmes Trailmaster Sport, 21 turn, 550, 0 timing. I unplug this. It plugs directly into here. Sits in there. I already have the pinion and the motor mount on it. It's done, ready to go. In like 2 seconds, I can have a new motor in here. All I got to do is hook up my power lead from this ESC, obviously after I've unhooked this one. Right now, this ESC powers all my electronics. So whenever you have another ESC acting as a controller, you need to unplug your red lead. That is your power. If you don't, you have power sources coming from 2 different directions. That's no good. That won't work very well. So that's what that's doing. If you would like any information on any of this stuff and in depth, I have extra electronics laying around. I can show you anything you'd like to see. Just let me know. I used an old servo board, ripped out of an old junk servo. Still had a good board, and I just used it for a light controller. That's what you seen operating my lights. So essentially what that means is it gives me the ability to, I tear them apart, I waterproof them, and then I can control lights if I wish. Control just about anything I want. The only other thing I can say that's a big positive, and what I was talking about with the 8-channel Flysky being hacked, is the only electronics I ever run in a Traxxas in this vehicle is just these mini servos, the micro servos. They have been working fine. The reason for it is I never ran any of the stock electronics. The factory radio, no matter what you want to do, you cannot adjust your endpoints on the micro servos. That's why a lot of people burn them out or break the gearing. Another reason also is if you don't move the vehicle after you change the micro servos, they essentially burn themselves out or they'll strip the gearing. So with that being said, your Flysky, after I hack it, now mind you, you can do this with just about any 6 or 5 channel radio system. Adjust your endpoints. Go and set your endpoints up on each one of these individually, which 100% you cannot do with a factory Traxxas radio. No matter whether you buy the Bluetooth module or what you buy, you cannot do it. So, like I say, just about any 5-6 channel on my hack Flysky I can do it, but set your endpoints up. That'll dramatically save them micro servos. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to hit me up. I'll be happy to answer anything to my best ability. Other than that, enjoy the hobby, have fun, and take care. Have a great day.